Mute it.
It did.
Bump, bump. Bump, bump. Market metals, the levels you need to triage the market. Finishing up on the beach today, Matt. Finishing up on the beach. Let's get right into it, Matt. Super 70s sharing. I'm not saying football has gone soft. Well, I am, and you have been. But when I was a kid, if you recovered a fumble, you got to eat it.
I mean, right?
I gotta tell you, I played.
Hold on. This brings me. Think about this, because this brings me into last night's game where Herbert fucking choked it off, and then they were celebrating him coming in second place, which there's only two places in a game, first or second, or you both tie and you kiss your sister. Well, last night the Chargers were they fucking owned that game, the first half, and could only score 10 points. But then they scored again. They're up 17. Whatever. They were up 17-7. I'm like, all right, I think they're finally going to pull away, because their defense was owning them, and they still owned them. But then Herbert decides to give their defense 7 points with that 97-yard touchdown INT. I mean,
that is just beyond.
So he would have been eating the football. I would have taken him out just from that play. I would have put in the backup just from that play. This is the point. Because Bob, you would have made a better pass than he did on that one. I'm like, how can you even throw that ball? That guy, plus that guy, the guy that he threw it to, right? The guy that he threw it to was gassed. Like, who was the guy in the booth that kept him on the field? And why are you throwing it to the one guy who can't go anymore?
I don't know.
Like, he couldn't move. The receiver was gassed. So either call a timeout or throw it the other way, or run a play the other way. Because the guy ran the thing like he was like the third receiver. You know what I'm saying?
I don't get it, man. I do know this. Huge game.
We were 2-0 yesterday. 2-0 in pros. So
yeah, I know.
You got to fade me. You got to fade me in the college. Then is what I would say to you.
No. We fade you in the pros. You're still right on time for college. We'll fade you on your pro selection, and we'll start that.
I got 10 games for the viewers this week. I got 10 of them. We're gonna do a 5-team Big Ten parlay. How's that?
Well, let's get into it right now. Then bring it.
No, we'll get into it later.
All right, listen to me.
I got to review a little bit.
Scott Van Pelt shared yesterday, the day before, that if you start the season 0-2 in the NFL, you only have over the past 17 years, you only have a 10% chance of making the playoffs.
If your team is the Lions, you have a 0% chance.
Well, so the Lions can, but the interesting game for me then is Sunday Night Football, Bears Packers.
Well, I'm taking the Pack in a huge way.
All right, beautiful. See, now we know that
whatever the line is, whatever the line is, you got it. Whatever.
All right, you heard it here first. Bears lock. Plus misdrade will revert.
Green Bay is wiping they're going to wipe their ass up in Lambeau. They're going to wipe their ass, and it's going to be because they got embarrassed against the Vikings, so they will not lose.
And if they start 0-2, they got a 10% chance of making the playoffs.
Yes.
Bring back
Zero
Dickey.
0 if you're the Lions.
All right, listen, Matt. The VIX down despite reversal, and S&P down 10%. Stocks trading like a bear just started. Commodities are down like inflation is gone. Bonds trading like inflation is at 20%. Sentiment in the SPX is at 5,000. The clown world just continues to deliver, and the disjointedness of all of these markets. Longplex has just been raging on the cycles coming. You've been talking about it too. And I got to tell you, the weekly now, if they close these spoos on their ass and the way the monthly is developing, this thing is just starting. It's just starting, Matt. That, along with this, JP Morgan CEO warns U.S. is headed towards something worse than a recession. I'm pretty sure the only thing worse than a recession is a depression, unless they added another pronoun there. Did they? Or is it just?
Yeah, I'm sure Joe Biden's got new names for whatever we're going to go through, because everything's going to be fine. Everything's fine.
All right, man. Let me share one.
Because the Inflation Reduction Act is reducing everything. Why don't they call it what it is? It's the Green Energy Tax Act.
Matt, let me share. Because we got some important price discovery to get to. and I still can't share.
Well, because
And I'm
pressing the button.
and I'm
Relax.
sharing.
Relax.
Where am I sharing? All right, sharing. You shared this. We talk about this all the time. How we talked. I busted your balls about Parcheesi 3 days ago, right?
Yeah.
Right, because you're a big game guy, and then you shared this. Great articles about board games. All right. Little known fact: the game Clue was born during a World War II air raid. But this is more important, Matt. Right now, hold on a second. I don't know if you know this, but the 2022 Hall of Fame finalists are out, and you can vote for your favorite. And for me, how in the hell is the Nerf ball?
I loved Racco, by the way. I loved Racco.
I never heard of Racco.
Yeah, that's a good.
Light Bright seems to me like it should have been. Yeah, how's Light Bright not in the Hall of Fame for toys? I mean, they sold 1 trillion of those things. I never got to play
that puppy.
with one.
That puppy shouldn't even be in the picture. Throw that one out.
The puppy, but the Nerf ball, Matt, the Nerf ball. You know how many lamps were saved?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, innumerable amount of household appliances were saved because of the invention.
I think that's why they've gone back to real balls. You can't really find Nerf anymore. I don't know.
Well, now they got the Nerf, and it's morphed into.
And I think they're selling real balls at Home Depot. So when you get a ball, you get a new lamp every time.
It's a projectile, the new Nerf.
Yes.
It's a projectile. They're launching them in a mortar. Matt, the other thing I wanted to quiz you about is the horse there, the horse statue. How is that a game?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, how is that a game? But let me ask you,
that's for the
statue.
Girl. Oh, that's for the girl. That's for the pronouns with she, her.
Matt, a statue.
Bob, I'm learning.
With
she, her.
One leg up statue with a military person on it. What does it mean?
What does it mean?
It means
Charge.
He died from wounds in battle. Gotcha. If both legs were up, he died in battle. If the horse has all 4, he never died in battle.
Did not know that.
Or from wounds in battle. Little known fact here. We got a lot. All right, Matt, let's look at some game companies since we're onto the games of football, the games of life. And by the way, the game of life, Matt, I don't know if you read about that. It originally had a lot darker situations, like
probably
getting murdered.
It probably came out during the 30s, during the Depression. So
like you could draw the card where you got murdered.
I love
you committed.
The game of life I loved more than Monopoly, and I loved Payday more than the game of life.
How about Pit? Did you ever play Pit?
I love Pit too, with the bell, ding, because I would smash that bell until it broke.
All right, what are we looking at?
We're looking at Hasbro, bro. We're looking at Hasbro.
I gotta tell you, I think the word bro should be outlawed, honestly. Like, okay, don't call me bro.
Okay, bro. All right, bro. 41 was the COVID low, obviously. But what's interesting mostly about this chart for me, Bob, is that this never recovered. So there's no joy in toys, apparently, post-COVID, because nobody's buying toys. It's just the kid just wants his iPhone. He doesn't give a shit about that horse or pitch or a Rubik's Cube or any of those things. He just wants his iPhone 14. That's all Billy wants. That's what this chart tells me. So this should be a warning sign to all you GameStop. I mean,
I'm looking at it, Matt. It looks like the fat of that value range is going to get us right to the COVID low when nobody shows up to buy Christmas.
Yeah, and this is we're gonna lead into why we're saying this. Another domino fell today with FedEx warning crazily that demand, they're shelving planes, right? That's what they said today. Like, there's not demand. And I don't know if you saw also over the last couple of days, Scott's fertilizer, which we've talked about, is piling up at the Home Depot, Lowe's outlets because nobody's fertilizing, because guess what? They don't have money. They don't have money to, first of all, water their lawn, and they have no water.
There was a Freudian slip there. You just said they don't have money to fuck, I think, but we'll have to go back to the producers to see if that's what actually you said. Not only that, think about the danger of fertilizer stockpiling, because you make bombs out of fertilizer from Home Depot.
Right. So now, if you're a Muslim and you're going into Home Depot, be ready to, buy extra or be denied, one or the other.
well, the world is upside down as we know it. So,
Mhm.
and by the way, it could be an Irishman too.
But yeah, it could be. But well, especially since the queen is dead now, maybe they want to take over the island. I don't know.
Did you see the dub in of Charles's speech? That's the greatest dub in about how they're going to turn Australia back into a prison colony and they're taking the US back over. It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Mattel is the other publicly traded name that I thought we'd look at today. And, you know, again, high of 27. Now, this one did take out its pre-COVID high. So I guess you want to be long, you know, Mattel on the hedge and short.
I don't think so, Matt. I think that chart actually, for me, from a profile perspective, is actually a better looking chart because
I'm saying this is bullish. So let's look at this from a simple profile. This has broken out. It's above its value zone, keeps holding the value zone. So as long as 20 holds, as long as 20 holds, you can be long. But when 20 goes, it's going to go down to 7. So there's the trade there. There's your contingent trade.
I mean, it's crystal clear, perfectly clear. It couldn't be more clear if I wanted it to be.
And then Hasbro in the same time frame, right? We're looking at the same time frame. So we're looking at the same things. Hasbro has the opposite effect, which is it is below and all the way at the lower end. So you don't want to be long this unless it gets above 82. So this one you want to remain short unless it gets above 82. And it looks like it's going to trade, as you said, COVID. But isn't it interesting how the profile is different on both these? Obviously, Mattel is doing a better job with movies and things, obviously, because of all the
exactly.
Right?
They have other profit centers.
Yeah,
definitely a profit center.
So let's talk a little bit about FedEx starting its own bull market. Again, I don't know how you're having a bull market when your largest shipping companies are telling you that we're shelving planes because there's no demand for our services, right? So that should be a warning sign. And by the way, we pretty much came back into value with this break. And then you should have been, and again, if you knew this, like you should not have been long when this thing started selling back in May a year ago. It's been a bear market for well over a year. So now once this level of 193 went on the warning on the earnings today, guess what? We just filled that hole completely. And we almost traded down to 145, which is the point of control just on this last, 2.5 years of trading. So again, this is not a bull market at all here. We're not near the bottom. The bottom down here gets you to the COVID low, which is around 88. So why wouldn't we trade there, Bob, if demand is slacking off? I mean, we're just beginning, as you said. We haven't had any jobs bad numbers. We haven't had any layoffs. I mean, tech layoffs. Chips we know aren't shipping. Nothing is shipping because people are pulling back because the inflation is eating it up at the pump and at the food. So regardless of we are, if you measure inflation like they did when we were kids, we would be over 20%. We would be. So you're dealing with a government that is lying to you about everything, and they're going to continue.
Not only that, I mean, it's so clear and evident that not only they're lying it, but they're framing it like the lie is they're thinking about it. Like it is so calculated. Everything now, if you are awake and I watched the newscast for the first time in a couple of months, and the framing now reminded me exactly of the Gulf War, where they were taking babies out of incubators and throwing them into the street.
Right.
The framing is so calculated that it can't be true. And I don't know what the truth is. And that's the problem. And we talked about the other day when CPI goes up and down by, the same percent. I mean, what real world is that? Right. It's preposterous as well.
It's a world when you take out food and energy and housing, then your CPI is only 8%. If you add those in education and healthcare, it's like 25. I mean, just do the math. It's not rocket science, but they take out the stuff that goes. It's just like the index game, right? The S&P goes up all the time because the dogs get thrown out.
Which is a great argument to be a long-term index investor. Why wouldn't you let somebody else do it for you?
Yeah.
Right? And you just, believe me, along with several thousand other regrets. One of mine was not to just be an index accumulator.
Well, but
If I could, you see those ridiculous things where if you could tell your 20-year-old self something, yeah, it'd have been put $100 in the SPX every month.
But Bob, here, let's kind of look forward, right? It's kind of the same thing. I think UPS will break, and I think you can be short, and I think you can be short all the way up to 2.25. So we're trading 176. Yeah, it's a big stretch, but and it is down today on FedEx. I don't know if you're going to get another bounce, but if you do get another bounce, just sell it wherever. If it bounces back to $8, 5%, because it's not FedEx, but it is UPS. They're in the same business. You can't tell me the big shippers aren't being hurt with FedEx and also UPS. So just use your brain here. This is not a reason to buy UPS. There was not like, the CEO was not, fondling little panda bears or something like that. So I don't know what was going on, but
you are ripe today. Right today. The toy day. That's when it all happened. It was the toy day. Why'd you have to talk about toys?
Why you brought it up? I just stick with it.
Why do you have to talk about? Well, Matt, everything's a sex toy if you're brave enough. We've
covered that. just ask the lovely ER ultrasound tech that's got to take those pictures. Believe me.
Everything.
My brother-in-law tells me all the things that he's seen with his ultrasound.
All right, Matt, one last thing here. Let me share again. I almost missed this.
I kind of wish I was an ultrasound tech because that would be fun. You'd see some crazy shit, man. You never know what you're going to see up somebody's bum.
I'd rather just let that be a mystery. Thank you, Matt. Twitter delivers. Imagine Cinnabon. Just imagine again. Back to thought processes, right? Cinnabon, right? Cinnabon, Matt. Brought to you by Pfizer, right? Pfizer owns Cinnabon for sure. The power that I feel every day being in control of this account, I am invincible. And I said, as long as the insulin holds out, everybody's invincible. Right? Cinnabon. All right, man. Let me go here and go down to sugar, because let's face it, that's what they're dealing in. And I got delayed quotes on.
No, they're not even dealing with sugar. They're dealing with corn syrup, and we don't have a market for that.
Well, let's look at sugar anyway.
All right.
On the monthly delayed. And I want you to bring it up here too, because you talked about all charts being one, and sugar to me looks like it's in very precarious. Well, it's bracketed for sure, like 17.5 to 20.5. I see that bracket, but these lower highs on the monthly for the past 6 months now are concerning if I'm a sugar bull. Where are all the sugar bulls, by the way? Give me a good old-fashioned sugar bull. Like everybody should be eating more sugar. Bring it up.
Are you saying sugar bowl or sugar bowl?
Bowl of sugar. SBV. Scott.
I got it. Don't worry about it.
SBV.
I got it.
Sugar.
I'm less bearish, but I'm really, I don't want to be in this market. So let me just start there.
I mean, look at how it's perfectly balanced. I agree with that. Low end and
but
the profile is
as long as 17 holds, we could go play this ping pong. We've been in the 17-20 thing for a good year and a half. So 17 breaks, we go to 15. So I'm giving you the levels. 17 breaks, we go to 15. 15, 1461 was the low here. That breaks, we go to 12. And the COVID low, by the way, it was actually 9. I guess people weren't going to eat sugar when they were locked down.
You would think actually in a depression,
I would have thought that would have skyrocketed, but
right. Cheap calories would seem to me to be like the way to go. Like you should be playing the cheap calories. Like all you can afford is a bowl of Captain Crunch.
Yeah. Again, big picture. Buy this thing if it gets to single digits, because it's not going to zero. Sugar's not going away, right? So,
like crude oil. Yeah,
I'm starting to accumulate sugar. After my insulin pump wears out, and I'm down to 13, I guess. I don't know.
Let me ask you one final question before we go on to college football to end the show. Is Cinnabon a publicly traded company?
Might be owned by Taco Bell or something. I don't know.
Let's see. Why don't you bring up, Matt, your college your college graphic.
I don't really have a graphic for you, but I'm going to give you some games. But I'll bring up my.
Yeah, bring up something. Bring up something for God's sakes.
For God's sakes. All right. So here's what I like. I told you we're going to do a 5-teamer. We're going to start. We're going to start with Purdue. Purdue is at the Cuse. Cuse is 2-0. Purdue is 1-1. I say take the Big Ten over whatever the Syracuse is. They're in the ACC now. They're not a football team, and they're not a basketball team. Have you been to Syracuse in the last 20 years? You don't want to be there.
Those are fighting words if you're sitting in New York, dude.
So they're not even a lacrosse school anymore, and they used to be. So anyways, my second pick on the Big Ten is over Western Kentucky, the Indiana Hoosiers giving a touchdown at home against the 2-0 Western Kentucky. They're not a bad program. So this one, I'm a little on this one. Okay. Now I'm going to give you, that's part of my, and then my third team in the Big Ten 5-team parlay is Colorado at your Minnesota Golden Gophers. All right. That's down here. Minnesota is 27.5-point favorites. Boy, it's hard to give Minnesota, like, given those points, but I'm going to say take Minnesota given the 4 touchdowns against a hapless Pac-12 Buffaloes. They're horrible.
I mean, the Buffaloes are more of a Division III school. I mean, let's be honest.
They're horrible. All right. So that's my third.
Now we started fights in New York and Colorado.
They're horrible, Bob. Now my fourth and fifth Big Ten games are night offerings. So if you've lost the first 3, you can either bet these independently and you'll probably go 3-2 or 4-1. But if you want to roll the dice and go with the 5-team parlay, I'm probably going to do both. I'm going to do the 5-team parlay and bet them all individually. Is what I'm going to do.
Right.
The fourth game is Michigan State in a pick'em. I think they think it's Michigan, not Michigan State. They don't know the difference. And that's why it's pick'em, I think.
Who are they playing? I can't see it.
Michigan State's playing Washington, and Washington's 2-0, but they're the Pac-12. Michigan State's number 11. Washington's not even ranked. Michigan State's got an offense and a decent defense. I think they're going to crush them. And a pick'em. This is actually my 10-star pick of the week. Like, bet your whole house on this one because Michigan State's going to roll them.
Open that $1,000 account guaranteed
right.
at MGM or Barstools and risk it all right now, Michigan State.
Now, the fourth game, I've got to go against the spread because for the same reason, Iowa, I don't think they can score 21.5 points. They might get the half point. They might get a safety in there, but even against Nevada at home, I can't see Iowa covering a 21.5 spread. So you got to take Nevada.
Right on.
All right. So that's that's your 5-teamer. And then I've got a couple other there's only a couple games I really like. I like Mississippi State giving 1 at LSU. Mississippi State Bulldogs giving 1 at LSU. I like that game. And I also like BYU getting the 4, taking the points at Quack. Quack has no defense and BYU can score. Go with the team that can score ultimately to win. I think BYU beats Oregon at Oregon this weekend. And for the other game that I like, just because it is another Big Ten game, but I didn't want that in my parlay. Oklahoma -4.5 over Nebraska at Nebraska. Scott Frost is gone. He got his payday. But what's going to change in that locker room?
Yeah, I agree.
OU is number 6. They're number 6. I'm sure they're overrated, but they're number 6 at Nebraska. Yeah, it's the big game against those two. It used to be the big game. It's only 4.5 points. Oklahoma's going to rail them, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Georgia Southern scored 48 on Nebraska. Come on.
Come on, man. Come on.
So you got to take OU, given the 4.5 there. And there you go. There's your 8 games, with 6 of them being Big Ten games, but only 5 of them being in your parlay. So go back and watch it if you need to watch it.
All right, listen, I got to hit it. So,
and on the pro side, I already said the big game of the year of the week is Green Bay over your Bears. I don't even need to look at the rest of them.
10
I'm,
points.
I'm going all in on that one. Going all in.
10 points.
After
I've never been more confident in a Bear game in my life.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. Never been more confident.
Matt, you're the college guy. You're the college guy.
I've never been more confident. And the Lions.
Bears in the
will-
over. That's
The
what I'm
Lions
saying.
will win. And here's my other pick. Take the Lions plus 1.5 at home against the Redskins. They're never gonna be the Commanders for me. They are permanently the Redskins.
Permanently.
Permanently.
All right, beautiful.
I mean,
That's all I got.
how can the Redskins be gone? Yet we have 100,000 people in KC doing the chop last night.
It's the clown world that we live in.
How can that be? Just explain it to me. Roger Goodell,
I'll tell you.
call
why,
up
because
Bob, and set up an appointment. We'll have you on
Missouri
because
and
I don't
Kansas,
understand.
Matt, are still asleep, and Washington D.C. is awoke. That's why. Pretty simple.
I mean, they're still the Florida State Seminoles. Last I checked,
Yes, they are. Again, another asleep
they're
state.
still the Central Michigan Chippewas. Last I checked.
You know, that depends on where you are in that state, if it's asleep or awoke. I don't know.
Those people that live in
Now,
Mount
listen, I
Pleasant-
gotta go. All right.
Those
I gotta
people
hit
that
the
live
road.
in Mount Pleasant, they have no problem with the Chippewas. None.
Chippewa. All right, listen. Please visit our marketvalue.io. Please share, retweet, and plagiarize. We will check in on Monday with a full report card on our trading ideas and our sports gambling picks. And listen, please vote for the Nerf ball to get into the Toy Hall of Fame. For God's sakes. I threw so many touchdown passes with Nerf balls into couches. It's like
I mean, that's pretty much what got you your scholarship.
I didn't send them. I sent them film from the couch ball. All right, throwing the Nerf in the living room. That's it. All right, see you, Matt.
See you, Bobby. Safe travels back.